G'day, this is Mark Screen. This is Working Man's Guide, the channel for working men of faith and their families. I want to touch on today about listening and following God. Now, I live in Newcastle in Australia, just north of Sydney. There's been a couple of times since I got married that I've lived in Sydney, and probably about 10 years ago our family needed to move back to Newcastle to be closer to older members of my family. And one of those passages was Genesis chapter 14. And it's where Abraham has to go and rescue Lot. And what happens is that there's two sets of four kings, and they're both aligned to a more powerful king. Now, when I say kings, it's more like there'll be a city, and then that city will have a king. But they all had their own defense force. And in Sodom, Abraham's nephew, Lot, had lived in that town. And what happened in this battle, Lot, his family and their possessions were taken north. I would probably say, in relation to today, somewhere north of Damascus in the Middle East. So what happened in that was that Abraham had 318 men, armed men, born of his household. And what they did is they went north, chased the people who were held, Lot and his family and their possessions, captive, and rescued them. And then somewhere in there, just prior to the actual capture, Abraham had divided these men into two lots, and they had routed the enemy. But what they had done, they essentially done the work of the defence force of Sodom. It's something that they should have done, but they couldn't do. So these are the kinds of resources that Abraham had in his own household, and at that time he made his family a priority. So obviously, we needed to look after some older relatives of our family, and so this made good sense. So what happens is they come back and they're met by the king of Salem, Melchizedek. Now, Salem today is Jerusalem, and so they were met by Melchizedek and the king of Sodom. And Melchizedek makes food for Abraham, and obviously, there's, when they say their possessions, even their money. So the king of Sodom in that exchange, when they return, says, "Look, I just want the people, you can have the money." And Abraham says, "No, you can keep your money. I don't want you to be able to say that you made Abraham rich." At the same time, though, he accepts the blessing of food from Melchizedek, and in the end he gives a tenth of everything he has in a one-off offering to Melchizedek. And actually the only other time that Melchizedek's talked about in the Bible is in the New Testament, where it's described that Jesus, because he was a high priest of the God Most High, Melchizedek. And in the New Testament, Melchizedek is described as being, Jesus is being described as the same order as a high priest, the person that stands between us and God, in the same order as Melchizedek, which is quite different from the high priests that the Jews had, which is a whole nother video, really. Yeah. But just recently, I've gone back to that passage because I had to ask myself, as this season of keeping our family together, has it finished? And one of the things that came apparent was that Melchizedek initiated this blessing of providing food for Abraham and all in his household, and Abraham responded to that when he probably should have got a reward from the king of Sodom. But it's still abundantly clear that for what he was meant to do, he had these resources within his own household. That's been really a strong message coming to me, that I need to build up the resources in my own household of what I'm meant to do for God. So, first of all, what does God want you to do? What's that next step? A pastor friend of mine, when he was our pastor, he used to talk about jumping out of the boat, just like that story where Peter jumped out of the boat on the Sea of Galilee to walk towards Jesus. And so what's that next step for you? What's the next season going to be? And do you have the resources in your household in order that will resource you for the day when you need to act on, when the commencement of that next season starts? Something to think about, and ask God what that season is and what you need to prepare for, what resources you need to build up. I hope you find this a blessing, and I pray that God will lead you into this next season. You have a good day. If you like this video, click on the like button. If you are a subscriber, remember to click on the bell, and then YouTube will tell you when I've made another video. You have a good day. God bless you.